Well, this is Chapter 1 Study Guide. So again, feel free to fast forward this video anytime you want to go to the problems that you are struggling with. But again, we'll kind of take this a little bit at a time. But again, feel free to fast forward if needed to. So again, anytime I'm on the test and I'm doing this, I would always draw pictures if it doesn't give me a picture though. So in this one, it says A is the midpoint of CM. So I would draw it like this. Here is a segment. Again, I knew it was a segment because it just had a line over it, and it said CM, and it told me A was the midpoint. So remember, midpoint is a very important term that we need to know. It's the middle point that we have right here, which means that these two segments are congruent. Okay, so now that I have that kind of labeled, it tells me that the length of AM is, it says find the length of AM if CA is 2x minus 3. So we know this segment right here is 2x minus 3. And we were also told that the whole segment from C to M right there is 5x minus 11. Okay, so I'm looking at this. I'm going to use my segment addition postulate, which means that this segment and that segment added together are going to equal the full thing that you gave me. The only thing I don't know though is I don't know what AM is. Well, remember we said that it was the middle point, the midpoint, which means these two things need to be the same. So if that is 2x minus 3, the other one is 2x minus 3. And now when I combine those together, I'm going to get 2x minus 3 plus 2x minus 3, and this is going to equal 5x minus 11. Now I'm just combining my terms. I'm going to get 4x minus 6 equals 5x minus 11. I'm going to subtract 4 to both sides, and this is going to give me x. I'm going to add 11 to both sides, and this is going to give me 5. So I get x equals 5, but again, I got to be careful because it didn't ask me what x was, it asked me what the length of AM was. So I'll change colors right here to red. I'm going to plug this 5 back in for AM. So I'm going to get 2 times 5 minus 3, which is going to be 10 minus 3. 10 minus 3 is 7. My final answer is length of AM is 7. Okay? On to number 2. So again, there's going to be a lot of vocab on here. It says name the intersection of the line in the plane. Okay, it intersects at one point that we have right here. That would be point H. And again, we just write the word point H. Name 2 points that are coplanar. Coplanar means that they are on the same plane. Okay, so that was definitely in our flip book. So 2 points that are coplanar, and again, it wants to know points. So I'm going to say points that we have right here, M is on the plane and H is on the plane as well. So I'm going to do points MH that we have right there. And then finally it says name 2 points that are collinear. So again, collinear is a really important term that we need to know. It means that there are points on the same line that we have right here. So name at least 2 points. If I see 3 points, we'll list all 3, but only ask for 2. So we do points R is on the line, H is on the line, and D is on the line as well. So that's how I'd write that, points that I have right there, looking at that. Alright, the next 2 problems that we have are a distance and midpoint. So I wrote down these equations already. So those are important ones that we need to know, and all we need to do, if we know those equations, we just need to plug them in and check out what an answer is. So again, what I would do on the test, and this helps me out, above the coordinates, I would write out like this is x1, this is y1 that we have right here. This one would be x2, and the next one would be y2. So now I know when I'm plugging them in exactly where they need to go. So I'm going to get x2 minus x1. Again, the x2 is right above. So I'm going to get negative 8 minus negative 2, and this is going to be squared. And then I'm going to get plus y2 is negative 3 minus y1, which is 4 squared. And again, this is still all underneath the square root. Again, the reason that we're squaring it and then taking the square root is that distance can never be negative. So that's why we're doing that. So I have a double negative that I have right here. So double negative just becomes a positive. however your teacher taught you right there, double negative, both of these become a positive, so it's really negative 8 plus 2, which is going to give me negative 6 squared, and negative 6 squared is going to give me 36. This is going to give me negative 7 when I do that squared, and that's going to give me 49. And then I'm going to add these together, and let's see what it comes out to. We're going to get 49 plus 36 comes out as 85, and we have the square root of 85. If it is not a perfect square root, a lot of times it will ask you round to the nearest decimal, but if it didn't, you could always just keep it as far as in its radical, but you can always make it as a fraction, because if we want to know like distance wise how far is this actually, well, it would be 9.22, approximately that, so if we're rounding. Okay, so again, you could leave it like that if it doesn't tell you, but a lot of times we put it as a decimal. The next one says we're going to find the midpoint. So again, remember the midpoint formula is us just taking the average of the x and the average of the y's. So again, I would label this right above. I would label this as x1, y1. This one is x2, the other one is y2. And again, I'm just adding the x's, so I'm going to get negative 5 plus 9 over 2. And the other one, I'm going to get negative 2 plus negative 4 over 2. So this is going to give me 4 over 2, which then simplifies to 2. This is going to give me negative 6 over 2, which is going to simplify to negative 3. And this is my final answer. Remember, I'm trying to find a coordinate. Remember, so a coordinate, we'd put like parentheses around over here. So the midpoint between that segment would be 2 comma negative 3. Alright, so we've done this problem a lot in class that we have here. So maybe it's helpful to kind of draw a picture to see what's going on. So we have a segment, and we're going to start at C, and we're going to go to H. So we're at C, we're going to H, and it tells me that M is the midpoint. So I have M that we have right here, and this is the midpoint, so it's in the middle. It tells me M is 5 comma 3, and it tells me H is negative 9 comma negative 1, and we have to find that other endpoint, which is C. So that's what we're trying to find. Okay, so again, if it helps drawing a picture, you can. But we're going to use that same formula. I just drew kind of big, so I'm going to erase this really quick. But if you want to put that maybe a little bit smaller off to the side, you can. We're going to use that same formula, which is midpoint equals the average of the x and the average of the y's. The only difference between that problem that we just did is we were given this midpoint of 5 comma 3. And we know one of the coordinates, and again this would be x1, that would be y1. We know that one of the endpoints is at negative 9 plus x over 2, and the other one is negative 1 plus y over 2. Okay? So we need to figure out what this other endpoint is. But if you see, we know that this value right here, that this is my x, this is my y, so we're going to set this off into two equations, an x1 and a y1 that we have right here. So my x1, well, if that's my value for x, I'm going to do 5 equals negative 9 plus x over 2. That's going to give me my x, and my other one is going to give me 3 that we have right here. 3 equals negative 1 plus y over 2. Okay, I times 2 to both sides. I'm trying to get x all by itself. I get 10 equals negative 9 plus x. I add 9 to both sides, and I'll put it over here. For my final answer, x is going to equal 19. So I get 19 for that. I'm going to times 2 to both sides right here. This is going to give me 6 equals negative 1 plus y. I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and I'm going to get y is going to equal 7. And there's my midpoint that I have right there. Alright, and then the next one says, draw a picture to explain the segment addition postulate. Okay, so again, segment looks like this. And all we're going to do is, if we have, say, another point that we have right here, if we were told that this was 2x, this was 5, and the whole thing was, say, 15, well, we know when we take these two segments and add them together, this 2x plus 5, it's going to equal the total thing, which is 15. And that's how we can solve for it. Okay, it's the same thing for this angle addition postulate. The only difference is we're going to have an angle. So we have an angle, and it looks something like this. And if we were told that this was, say, 2x, and let's say this one was 5x, and we were given the total angle, so we were given this full angle right here was, say, I don't know, we're just making it up right here, 100. Well, we know that when we take these two angles and add them together, they're going to equal the full angle. So when I take 2x plus 5x, it's going to equal that full angle, which is 100 that we have right there. Okay. On my next one that I have right here, we're going to find x and y. So let me pull this down a little bit to give ourselves a little more room. Alright, so we are x and y. So the first thing I notice is, hey, these two angles right here, they both have x's. They are adjacent to each other, and they make a straight line. A straight line is always 180 degrees. So I know that when I take this 25x plus 8 and I add it with the other one plus 9x plus 2, it's going to equal 180 degrees. Again, combined together, they make a straight line that would be a linear pair or a supplementary value. So I'm going to get, to combine my terms, 34x plus 10 equals 180, and this is going to give me 34. I subtract 10 to both sides is going to give me 170. 170 divided by 34 is going to give me x is going to equal 5. X is going to equal 5. Okay, so I know what x is that I have right here, and when I plug this back in, well, I know that 9 times whatever x is, which was 5, we just found that out, plus 2. So this angle right here is 45 plus 2, which means that this whole angle is 47 degrees. And do you see how this angle right here in blue and this one right here, that they're across from each other? We call those vertical angles. Vertical angles are always congruent. So I know that the 7y plus 5 is going to equal this 47 degrees that we have right here, 47. So I subtract 5 to both sides, I get 7y equals 42. And if I was solving for y, this is going to give me y is going to equal 6. So I have x is 5, y is 6, and all the angle measurements, well, if that's 47, this one has to be 47, and we know that they make a supplementary value, so this one right here has to be 133. I just did 180 minus that, or again, I could just plug x in to be able to figure it out. Okay, problem just like that on the test. Alright, so on number 8, kind of got cut off with this question that we have right here. It tells me what is the definition of parallel lines, and we're going to highlight as well. Parallel lines are two lines that will never cross. So if I look that I have right here, if I would label it with a highlighter, those right there would be parallel lines. And there's a bunch of them that we could list, but that's just an example. Parallel lines are lines that will never cross. And then it says, what is the definition of skew lines? So skew lines are not parallel lines, but they're also lines that will not intersect at a point. So if I was thinking skew lines, well, if I have, here's a top line in red, and here's the back one I have right there, those two lines are not parallel. They're not parallel. But they're also on different planes, so they won't ever actually cross. So those would be skew lines. Parallel lines, skew lines, highlighted them, orange, you have it red and green, awesome. Number 9, this question kind of got cut off. It's really hard for us to see that we have right here, because you can see I have a diagram. I think it just printed off poorly. Don't worry about it, let's just skip that one. We'll come back. Just skip it for now. Okay, so we're on to the next one. Alright, so we have 3 points. They're collinear. Collinear means same line. And it says even draw a picture, so let's draw a picture. Might help us out. So we have, here's a segment that we have right here. We know R, S, and T are on the segment. S is in between R and T. So I know here's R, here is T, and we have S is somewhere in between. Now it did not tell me that S was the midpoint, it's just somewhere in between. So we know that RS is 2x, 2W plus 1. So let's write 2W plus sign plus 1. And we know that ST is W minus 1. And we were told that the full segment right here is 18. So remember, my segment addition posture means if I add this length of the segment and that length of the segment, it's going to equal the full segment. So if I take 2W plus 1 plus W minus 1, it's going to equal that full thing, which is 18. Okay, so I'm going to get right here 3W, combine like terms, the 1's cancel, 18, W is going to equal 6 that we have right here, and we are trying to determine the length of RS. So RS is 2 times W, which is 6, plus 1, and then this is going to give me 12 plus 1, which is going to give me 13. So RS is 13, W was 6 that we have right here. Okay? Alright, so here we go. It says name a ray. So first of all, it says mark the following in the diagram. C is the midpoint of RT. So here's RT, C is the midpoint. So let's just mark it like this. So we know this is a midpoint, so that's have to be congruent. And it tells me that angle WCV is congruent with these two. So these two angles right here are also congruent. That's what it tells me. So if I was marking these, I know that these two angles are the same because it told me that. And it told me it's the midpoint, so those are the same. And then now we are going to use this diagram to help us solve some problems. So maybe choose a different color. So it says name an opposite ray of CT. Remember, opposite ray, it starts at one point. One ray goes in the opposite direction. The opposite ray comes at the same point. So that opposite ray would be this right here. We would put CR and we put a little line in the arrow that represents a ray. So those two come at the same point, but they go off into opposite directions. Name two congruent segments. Well, remember it told me that this was the midpoint between T and R. That C was the midpoint. So if I were putting it, I'll put it right above. I know that TC is congruent to CR, and I knew that because C was the midpoint. This one wants SC plus CW. SC plus CW, I think it wants to give me an angle. So if I was writing an angle right here, this would be angle WCS. Well, it's a terrible W. WCS. Or again, remember, when you're writing an angle, you need to have that angle sign that you have right there. If you did SCW, that would be the same thing that we have right here. The next one says C is the blank of RCS. So we have RCS, and it wants to know that C is the vertex that we have right here. Vertex. It's where that comes together. Vertex is where the two rays come together at one point. The sides RCW are blank and blank. So RCW, so if I have RCW, so here's one side. Remember, this is what we call the side of the angle, and there's the other side. So what are those two segments? One is CW, so that's one segment, and it comes together at, we should actually say it's a ray that we have right here because it's two rays coming together. So let's make it a ray. Another one is CR. There's another ray that we have right here. So remember, two rays come together at one vertex and make an angle. The next one says name an angle bisector. So remember, it told me that these two angles were the same, which means that bisect means it cuts it in half. So an angle bisector would be CV, and that would be a ray that we have right here. Okay, angle M, the measure, that's what M stands for, the measure of VCT plus TCS, so VCT might be helpful to draw it, and TCS equals this full angle that we have right here, which is angle VCS. And again, I already had the angle mark. Okay, alright, maybe use a different color. Let's go green. If WCT, and let's clear this. Whoa, sorry. We knew that these were the same and these were congruent. It's just going to make it a little easier for my picture. Hopefully you have that stuff written down. WCT is 40 degrees, and it tells me that WCT, oh, this whole thing right here, I'm sorry, is 40 degrees. So the full thing that we have right here, WCT, this whole thing is 40, and we are asked, well, what is WCV? What is this? Remember, they are congruent, they're the same. So if this is 20, that one needs to be 20 right there. They need to be the same. So we say that would be 20 degrees. WCT is 50. Alright, well, let's erase this that we have right here. Again, we still know they're congruent. And the next example, if WCT, if the whole thing is 50 that we have right here, TCS, what is this going to be? Well, remember, when I put these two together, they make a straight line that we have right here. How many degrees is a straight line? It's 180 degrees. So I can do x plus 50 equals 180. And again, all I'm doing is subtracting 50 to both sides, which means that x right here is 130 degrees. Okay, so a lot of vocab that we need to use to kind of know to solve those problems. Alright, chugging along, here we go. Next one that we have right here says angle 6 is 80, then what is angle 5? Well, again, these make a straight line that we have right here. Straight line is always 180 degrees, which means that angle 5 has to be 100 degrees. Okay, angle 9 appears to be a right angle. Angle GHL, so if this is a right angle, remember GHJ makes a straight line. Well, a straight line is 180 degrees, so if that is a right angle, then GHL has also have to be a right angle. Our right angles are just 90 degrees. Okay, and it says if angle 9, if angle 9 is 2x plus 5, this is 2x plus 5, and angle 8 is 3x, then what is x? Well, again, we just know that they add up to 90 degrees, complementary relationship. So I'm going to take right here 3x plus 2x plus 5. It's going to equal 180, and now I'm going to solve. Combine like terms, I get 5x plus 5 equals 180. Subtract 5 to both sides, 5x equals 175. And then when I divide 5 to both sides, 175 divided by 5 is going to equal 35. So x is going to equal 35. And if I want to figure out what those angles were, I can plug it in, but it only asks me for x. Okay. Next one says angle ABD. So ABD, this angle that we have right here, and DBC, well, when I add them together, they make a straight line. A straight line, a straight angle is always 180 degrees. Okay. Next one says if BF bisects ABE, So again, bisects means that it cuts it in half. So let's erase this right here. If it bisects it, which means it cuts this in half that we have right here, then, so if it bisects it, it means that these are congruent, so angle 1 has to be the same as angle 2. If angle 2 and angle 3, if you add them together, so if I take 2 and 3 and we add them together, then we're going to get, using what letters? If I were to use a highlighter, we'd get this angle that we have right here. 2 and 3, we'd get this angle that we have right here, and we would label that as FBC. So we say FBC, B is in the middle. Another name for angle 3 is, again, let's use letters. So you have different ways to label it. You can label it with a number, like how it is. It says angle 3, or we can label it with letters, and we're going to say EBC. EBC, because it's talking about this angle that we have right here. And then number 3 is adjacent to what? Acute angle. Well, it's adjacent. Adjacent means next to. These two are next to it. This angle right here looks obtuse. So this angle right here, I could say angle 2, or we could label it with letters, and we could say angle FBE. FBE, either one of those would be acceptable. Alright, next one says, so we have KJ and KM are opposite rays, awesome, and KM bisects angle JML, so KN bisects this angle that we have here. So remember, when it bisects it, it cuts this angle in half. So let's make sure that we draw those congruency marks, because now when it tells me that JKN is 8x minus 13, and we are told that NKL is 6x plus 11, well, we know we have these congruency marks right here. We know that they're equal to each other. So we know that these two things are going to be the same angle. If they are equal to each other, then I'm going to set these two angles equal to each other. I'm going to subtract 6x to both sides. This is going to give me 2x minus 13 equals 11. I'm going to add 13 to both sides. 2x is going to equal 24, which means that right here x is going to equal 12. Now I got to be careful because it told me to find x and also find what JKN was. So we're going to plug a 12 back in. So it's going to be 8 times 12 minus 13. So I'm going to get 8 times 12 minus 13, and this is going to give me 83. So I have angle JKN equals 83, and we're also looking for x. Those would be my two answers that I have right there. Okay. Alright, next one, number 15. Alright, chugging along. It tells me that, again, I still have the same picture. It says JKL. So this full thing that we have right here is 9y plus 15. And we were told that JKN is 5y plus 2. Okay, and we want to find out what JKL is with angles. Well, remember, these two are the same. Remember, it was bisect. So if that is 5y plus 2, this is 5y plus 2. And when I take these two angles together, this 5y plus 2, and I add it with 5y plus 2, it's going to equal the full angle, and it told me that full angle was 9y plus 15. Okay, combine my terms, I get 10y plus 4 equals 9y plus 15. I'm subtracting 9y to both sides. It's going to give me y plus 4 equals 15. Subtract 4 to both sides, and y is going to equal 11. Okay, but it wanted to know what JKL was. JKL, so I just need to plug it back in. So it's 9 times 11 plus 15, which is 99 plus 15. And let's just use the calculator just to make sure. we're going to get 114. 114 degrees would be my final answer that I have right there. Okay. Alright, and the last one of these problems. Again, it's the same diagram that we have right here. It says JKN is 3x plus 30. This is 3x plus 30. And we were told that JKM, so it's the full thing right here, was 2x. And we need to figure out what x is that we have right here. Alright, so there's a lot going on that we have right here. Now here's the thing. Let's look at this. Sometimes we're given a little information and we're trying to get what we have. Alright, I know a straight line. A straight line or a straight angle always equals 180 degrees. So I know that this will equal 180 degrees. And I was told that, well, the full thing that we have right here is 2x. So I know, well, 2x equals 180. Well, so if I divide both sides by 2, I'm going to get x equals 90. Well, that's solved for x that we have right here. But I wanted to know, find x, so there's 1, and I want to know NKL. Well, we have this 3 times x plus 30, and we know x is 90 that we have right here. It's a 90 that we have right here. So we're going to get 270 plus 30. When I add those together, this angle NKL is going to equal 300 degrees. Okay. So again, I'm looking for straight angle right here that helped me solve that problem. Alright, here we go. Matching. Easy, right? Collinear. Points that lie on the same line. So that would be F. Midpoint formula is C. Now we have it here. There's that one. So we have C, we have F. The segment bisector, a ray that divides an angle into two congruent angles. No, that's close. A segment line or plane that intersects a segment at its line point. Yes. So it looks like it would be G that we have right here. And then a plane would be, a plane looks like it would be A. A flat surface that extends indefinitely into all directions, that would be A that we have right here. The distance formula is definitely D that we have right here. And congruent angles is a ray that divides an angle into two congruent angles, angles that have equal measures. Looks like it's going to be I. I right there would be. So matching by key terms, make sure if you don't know those, you have those. Collinear, same line. Plane, we've talked about a plane before. Congruent angles means they're same. Midpoint means the middle, and you have a couple formulas. Alright, we're getting close. We're getting close there. So it says angle 1 and 2 are supplementary angles. So again, you need to know what these words are. It means that these two angles add up to 180 degrees. So I know that when I take 4x and I add it with 8x, they need to make 180 degrees, which means I'm going to get 12x equals 180, and 180 divided by 12, 180 divided by 12 is 15, so x equals 15, and I wanted to know what the angles were, so I get 4 times 15, which would be 60, so angle 1 equals 60, which that means that angle 2, if it has to add up to 180, is going to be 120 degrees. Or I could have just plugged it back in, expert. Next one, angle 3 and angle 4 are complementary angles. Complementary, if you don't know, they add up to 90 degrees. Super important that you know that. So when I take 3 and 4, when I take x plus 24 and x, and I add them together, they're going to equal 90 degrees. So I'm going to get 2x plus 24 equals 90. I subtract 24 from both sides. This is going to give me 2x equals 66, and this means that x is going to equal, divide both sides by 2, 33. And find the measures of both angles. Again, we're just going to plug it back in. For angle 3, it is going to be 33 plus 24. 33 plus 24 is going to equal 57. So angle 3 equals 57, and they have to add up to 90. So I know that the other angle, angle 4 right here, has to be 33 degrees. So there's that. Two lines intersect to form angles. If two lines intersect to form angles, alright, if two angles adjacent lines form 4x and 5x, then what is the measures of those angles? Alright, so this is going to be easiest for us if we just draw a picture, because this sounds like a lot of words, a lot of stuff, a lot of vocab. Here's a picture. Here's a line that we have right here. Here's another line that we have right here. It tells me two angles that are adjacent. So here, say this is 4x, and adjacent just means next to it. So let's say this is 5x minus 27. It doesn't really matter where you put it, but do you notice that when they're adjacent to each other, they make a straight line, a straight angle. How many degrees is a straight angle? It is 180 degrees. So when I take these two angles and I add them together, they're going to equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to get 9x. I'm going to 180 plus 27 is going to equal 207. And then I divide that by 9, and I'm going to get x is going to equal 23. And let's plug it in. So we're going to get this angle right here is 4 times 23. This angle would be 92. So that would be one answer, 92. And again, they're going to add up to 190, which means that this one right here has to be 88. Okay? Vertical angles 1 and 2. So again, if I were drawing a picture, let's draw it off to the side here. Vertical angles are across from each other. Vertical angles are always congruent. They're always the same. So if it tells me that these are vertical angles, I know that 16x minus 9 needs to equal 4x plus 3. They're always equal to each other. So now I'm just solving. I'm going to get subtract 4x to both sides. 12x equals, let's add 9 to both sides, 12. X is going to equal 1. We're plugging 1 back in. So angle 1 is going to equal 16 minus 9, which is 7. And again, we could plug it back in, but we know angle 1, angle 2 have to be the same. It's going to equal 7. Last one. The measures of the supplement of the angles is 30 more. Let's scoot this down really quick. Alright, so it says the measure of the supplement. Well, what does supplement mean? What does supplementary mean? It means 90 degrees when two angles put together. So I know I have two angles when I put them together. So the measure of the supplement of an angle is 30 more. So 30 more than twice the measure of an angle, then 2x that we have right here. Find the measure of the angles. Alright, so let's draw a picture. Pictures help us out, right? So we know that supplements, we're talking about supplementary. Oh, supplementary, ooh, is not 90, that would be complementary. Supplementary is 180. So let's draw a picture. We know that we're going to get a straight line, supplement that we have right here. And we know that we have two angles. One of the angles is x. The other one, it tells me, is 30 more than twice the angle that we have right here. And we know that, well, the full thing has to equal 180 degrees, right? Because it makes a straight line. So if I take x, and if I add it with 30 plus 2x, it's going to equal a straight line, which is 180 degrees. So this is going to give me 3x plus 30 equals 180. I'm going to get 3x subtract 30 to both sides equals 150. And I'm going to get right here 150 divided by 3 is going to give me 50. X is going to give me 50. So it says find the measure of angles. Well, we know one angle right here, let's put it in a different color now, is 50. Let's do something darker. Let's go boop. So this is going to be 50, and it needs to add up there. I could plug 50 back in, but this one right here is going to be 130. 50 and 130 add up to 180. So again, my two angles are, one is 50 and the other one is going to be 130 degrees, and they are supplement, which means that they are going to add up to 180. Alright, whew, that was a lot. That was a lot that we have right there. We'll definitely go over some of this in class. Hopefully you skip forward to the ones you need to know. Again, a lot of vocab right here, so make sure that you're going through your notes. But you guys should do well if you know this, do well on tests. Cool? Alright, see you guys.